Well, hello everybody. So what's going on here? In this video, I'm gonna show you how to test the smart contracts that we've created in Remix IDE. So first thing, I've made a copy for the two smart contracts, the voter.solidity and the ownable.solidity, into this project, into the contracts folder. So I have these two files here. And I didn't change anything. I only changed that line, that Pragma Solidity version. Now I need to compile those two smart contracts with Flutter, with Truffle. I always confuse the two. So I'm going to use Truffle to do that. We are not using Remix anymore, so I have to use the compiler that comes with Truffle. So I just write Truffle compile, and that when I am inside the ETH contracts, I have to be here. So now I compile that project, and I hope it compiles without any issues so far. So it takes some time. Okay, it complains. Yes, this override line that I remember we wrote in the remix, because actually it didn't like it before. I'm gonna delete it. It works with different versions for compilers. The version in remix actually wanted me to write this keyword, but here in this version it doesn't want me to write it, so I compile it now and I hope it works. I'm supposed to see a build folder in which I will see my ABIs, and we're gonna see it together. So let's wait for it. Okay, yes, this is a build folder. It's working. You can see all these JSON files. These are the ABIs that I told you about. So now that means that it compiled successfully and everything is fine. Now I go to test these smart contracts. So I go to the test folder here. I created a new file called test voter.js. That's the name of the contract preceded by the word test. This is a structure basically of our test. It's just, first you need to load the contract itself. This keyword here, artifacts.require, and this is the name of the contract. Whatever the name of the contract is, you copy it here. This is the name of the contract, and this is a contract that I'm interested about. I'm not interested to test winnable. I'm not interested to test ownable. I can test those two, but I'm only interested in that. So here I have like a reference to that contract, and that is the contract. I need to use this function here because I write the second argument is going to be a callback, which passes to me the accounts from the blockchains that I'm deploying to. This account is usually by default like 10 accounts. You can access those accounts like that. So if I want like accounts of 0, this is like user number 0. So this is gonna be a reference to user 0. I can have like user 1. So accounts 1. So this account is just like a reference, the addresses for the accounts in the blockchain network that I'm using. And here is a section for the test. Like this is a test section. And each test section have like a test statement. So this is a test statement. And before each of the test statements, this is the code that needs to be executed before you run your tests. So let's get started now. So I'm here inside the test section. This is a test section that is gonna be like isolated from other test sections. The blockchain here, the blockchain state here is gonna be different from the blockchain state here. So now I am in this test section. Before I run my test statements, I need to first create an instance of the contract. So I have here a reference for the voter. This is the voter ABI. Actually it comes from the artifacts of the compiled contract, of compiled voter contract. I call new, which means that I'm constructing a new contract. And here anything related, if the constructor of the contract itself, like this one, is taking you remember the constructor where I used to have here like constructor. So if we have like a constructor here taking like an integer or something, then I have to pass that integer in the test. So I have to pass like 10 here. So this is like the constructor of the contract. I don't have a constructor for this contract, so you can see here I'm passing something else, but these are optional arguments. That's why it is in between curly braces. So this optional argument refers to who is the contract, which one, which user is actually calling that constructor. It's kind of which user is gonna be the owner of that contract. So I'm telling him here that take care, account 0 is gonna be the owner of this contract, and this is optional, by the way. So now I have a reference for that contract here. So this is gonna be what I'm gonna be using in the future in my test statements. So the first test that I need to do is to test the vote. I will need to test first the add candidate functionality. I think this is the first thing that we apply here. Yes, this is the add candidate functionality. Now I need to test it. So I'll go to the test voter. I will write a description here about this test step. So I would say like it should add candidates. Now I'll write my test. The test here is gonna start by the instant for the contract, which I've just got from this line. So from here I can call the function inside the contract, which is add candidate. Now as if I'm inside the Solidity contract, Solidity smart contract, and from add candidate, if it takes arguments, I guess it takes an address, so I have to pass that argument to it. So where can I find the address? I told you like this account is the one that contains accounts inside the blockchain that I am deploying my smart contract in. So I can take this account here and I'm adding a candidate, the account number 1. So account number 0, the owner of the contract, is now calling add candidate on that contract, and he is adding the account number 1. But the question is, how do you know that the account 0 is the one who is actually calling that function? It's simple. I can just pass this, and now I make sure that account number 0 is the one who is calling this this function in the smart contract. But I'm gonna show you that by default it will assume that account 0 is the one who is calling this function. This is the default thing in these tests. By the way, the thing is, there is a very important thing. All calls for the smart contract are asynchronous, because structurally these are messages that are sent to the blockchain, and the test statements, the JavaScript code, is gonna be waiting for the response. It's not gonna be getting the response instantly. It's not a synchronous thing. So all these should be preceded by a wait. All these are actually promises. So now I kind of resolving that function call, and here I need to assert. This is the assert statement. What I need to assert here is to make sure that the candidates array inside my contract now is gonna be having account 0 inside it. So how do I do this? I have here this dot contract. So this is a reference to my contract, and from the contract I should get the candidates array. We're gonna find a problem here, but we'll talk about it later. So I'm gonna call the candidates array inside the contract, and from the candidates array I get 0, the 0th element. It's only having one element, and I know it's only having one element because I'm the one who's testing and I'm the one who created the contract. I'm just testing it. So what I want is to make sure that this quantity here, this value here, is gonna be equal to accounts 1, which I have just added. And if not, I need to send a message to the console. This message is gonna be like failed, like this test has failed. This message will only pop up when the test is failing. So the message will be like user 1 is not added. So user 0 have tried to add user 1, and this execution is not successful. And by the way, as I told you, like everything is asynchronous. It takes time. So I have to put here also a wait in order for it to resolve. So now I need to run the tests. We might actually see a problem. First, before you run the test, I need to create a blockchain. And already we have Truffle. It's not hard to do that. So I just say type Truffle develop. So I'm gonna wait. It takes some time. It's gonna create a blockchain for me in order to deploy my contract in. So yes, all these are the accounts. You can see it here. These are the accounts that I told you about. There are 10 accounts by default. From that window, I will say migrate reset, which means that I want to deploy my contracts into that blockchain. So now my contracts are living in that blockchain. Now I need to run the test. So I'm gonna run the test here. I think it's gonna complain because of something. Exactly, it complains about something here. It says like this contract.candidates is not a function, and I hope you expected that there will be an error here, because candidates here is not a public data type. You can see when I accessed this function add candidate, it was external, which kind of public that I can access from outside. But here I could only access candidates from inside the smart contract. So I had to put public keyword here. And now sadly I need to recompile my contract again. So I'm gonna run migrate reset. And by the way, when I say migrate reset, it's gonna recompile my contracts. So there is an error here. I think, yes, I'm sorry, I should have deleted that constructor. So now I can run migrate reset again, and it's gonna be compiling my contract again and deploying it again inside the blockchain. Now I can run my test. I only have one test technically, on only one implemented test. It says that I have two tests because I have an empty test, which will only be true. It's not there is no statements here. So all my tests have passing now. So now I need to test something else, like the voting functionality itself, maybe. So I will take a copy of this because I'm not gonna change a lot. So here I would say like should vote for a candidate, and I'm making sure now that the voting functionality is working. So how do I do that? I will make the same thing, like, but now I'm gonna call vote. Now account 0 is gonna vote for account 1. Or let me say something. I will assume that there is another account that is voting for account 0, and let it be account 2. Account number 2 now is voting for account 0. Now I need to assert that if I get the votes for account number 1, I have to have one vote. So here I can get votes for accounts 1, and this has to be equal to 1. If not, then user 1 is not voted for as expected. So let's run this test, and I should see 3 tests now that are all working, so everything's fine. At this point I have to tell you a little note. If I am calling the blockchain without it changing the state of the smart contract inside the blockchain, it is preferably to say call, to type call before I do that, before I pass the arguments. When I'm calling candidates here, I'm just retrieving the array of candidates. I'm not trying to change it, so I can say call. The same thing is here. I will say call because I'm trying just to get the votes. I'm not trying to change the state of the smart contract. But if I do that here, the test is gonna complain. Why? Because when I'm trying to add a candidate, I'm actually changing the state of the smart contract, because this array is gonna be appended by a candidate. So I can't do that here. So let us actually run the code this way, and you can see it will run without any problems. But if I put here call, which is a function that changes the state, it's gonna complain. So let's take a look together. Yes, it doesn't. It says like, I can't do that, invalid opcode. I can't do that here. So I will leave it as it is. Now let's do the last test statement. Here I'm having like a separate test section, what means that this test section is gonna have like its own new state smart contract. So when I do this test statement, I will redeploy another new contract. So this is like independent from the previous test. So if you want to make like new test cases, so this is the way you do it. Now what I'm intending to do now is to make some kind of a negative test. Remember, here we are having an ownership thing, like the one who is adding the candidate should only be the owner of that contract. So what if the owner now is account 0? What if account 3, for example, or account 2 is trying to add a candidate who and he's not the owner of the contract? It should not be able to do that. The add candidate functionality should raise an exception. So it's not a bad thing. I wanted to raise an exception. I wanted to complain. I wanted to make an error. So how do I do a test case like this? So this is the second part, because it's a little bit different. So now I will take the same function here, the add candidate. Just gonna copy it. I will add account 2, for example, but now it's gonna be from account 3, someone who is not the owner of that contract. So at this point I'm expecting it to throw an error. So there must be an error here. For that reason, I will put my the code here inside a try catch block. So I'll take this statement and put it in a try catch block, because actually I'm expecting an error. This is supposed to be. And guess what? I will throw an error. I will forcibly throw an error here and say like a message like error not thrown. So the error here is not thrown. And what I want to do now is I'm gonna play a little game with this E. I'm gonna tell it, okay, if the error is thrown here, if the error is thrown at this line, it means that I didn't throw the error from here. So this means that the E now is not equal to error not thrown in that case. And that will be if everything is okay. If everything is okay, E should not be equal to error not thrown. But if the error is not thrown here, if, for example, the only owner functionality is not working correctly in the smart contract, so this function is gonna execute with no problems, with no issues. And that's actually the issue. And then it's gonna come to the throw the error, and it's gonna throw that error, that the error is not thrown. In that situation, E is equal to error not thrown, which is the issue. So my assertion now is a negative assertion. I wanna assert that E is not equal to error not thrown. So I'm gonna take it as a copy here. So that is the assertion right now. If that assertion fails, that negative assertion is failing, so I'm gonna say like not, I'm gonna describe the error. So I'm saying not owner could add a candidate, which is a problem because I want an error to be thrown in that situation. So let's try this code now. So I should have like 3 tests now, and all they're passing. Okay, so you know everything is fine right now. So that's it for this video, and I'm really looking forward to make this more videos in this topic, and I will do my best to do that. For now, I'm really thankful for you to listen to me in this series of videos, and I hope to see you again. Peace.